Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. I hope you're having a fantastic morning this morning where sports meets that thing called life from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. We appreciate your patience here as Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora has been on the road. You know, we did our broadcast yesterday from literally on the road and had the hands-free video set up there for you as we spoke on a National Title Tuesday following the Alabama-Georgia CFP National Championship. So college football playoff, great to see that game. I argue that that's the best game we've seen in the college football playoff as yet. And so really an awesome way to end the college football season, and college basketball in full swing here as we continue that season. So coming up in just a moment, in this Dolphin time of Wednesday, January 12th, we'll be joined by Nate Champion. And after Nate comes on to the show on YouTube, Facebook, and mixlr.com, all /WakeUpCallDT, as well as on wakeupcalldt.com, we'll have the opportunity to hear from Syracuse University as they stop a 3-game skid, and we'll hear what the Orange had to say from head coach Jim Boeheim, as well as center Jesse Edwards and forward Cole Swider coming up here where sports meets life. And then in hour number 2, we'll do what we always do on a Wednesday, which is jump into the Fantasy Football Power Hour, this time with Super Wild Card Weekend and 7 teams on each side in the playoffs. So a lot of great stuff coming up here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So inside of what Ma and Pa's got popping here, what's popping from maandpaspopcorn.com. Up first in Dolphin Dive, we have Nate Champion, our newest but also familiar face and name here on the broadcast. Nate, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nate, you and I were talking off the air a little bit about it. You know, you're a basketball coach, but you're, obviously a sports enthusiast. And what can you say about the college football playoff and what you took away from watching the game?
First off, the level of defense that each of those teams could play was just unbelievable. And I think you could tell that from the first possession that Georgia had the ball. Their quarterback ran a little play action, and the linebacker was in his original spot during the play action. And by the time the quarterback turned around, he was sacked. He was given a sack to him, and I was like, it's just a completely different level of, athletes and play overall in that game than there was from any other team in the country. So definitely two best teams in that game, and it was a great game. And I know you think it was arguably one of the best national championship games since the playoff came about, and I would have to agree with you. It's definitely up there.
Yeah, I think it's great to have a game like that where it's closely contested and you're kind of, whether you're a fan or not of Alabama and Georgia. I didn't have a dog in the race, so to speak, from the team I grew up with, and I was catching my breath. So I just think it's cool to see something like that, and I think it's great in any sport, and you can attest to this in basketball when you see somebody come out for the first time. Keely Ringo's a redshirt freshman. His first career interception comes against the Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young in the national championship game to secure the victory. When you look at something like that, it's pretty incredible.
It really is. It really is. From the, fairy tale story of, the walk-on quarterback that, was fourth on the depth chart and leads his team to a national championship, all the way to, Alabama having to play without their 2 best receivers and being up late in the game just is a testament to the depth and the overall ability of each of those athletes on the roster. To Georgia's defense preparing for 37 days in a row because the SEC championship games hurt so bad that they're out of shape and, they didn't feel like they performed at their best, that they weren't going to let that happen again. Just the overall, preparation and, I guess, level of competition, respectful competition at that, those 2 teams just went out and left it all on the floor and are all on the field. And, it was just, you could tell that in the game. Like, it really meant something to each of those players.
Nate, can you take something from from a coach of a different sport? Do you take something from the the world of a Nick Saban or a Kirby Smart? I mean, even when we're looking from the court to the field or the field to the court, do you find yourself ever trying to learn from coaches, even if it isn't basketball?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at just philosophies and the way that they relate to players, and you look at someone like Nick Saban, and he's building one of the best college football dynasties ever. And I think they've won 6 out of the last 14 national championships, and his approach is the same thing every time, and players know what they have to do in order to play at Alabama, and that's why they're in the conversation year in and year out. But I think the thing that really just sticks out to me with both of those coaches and coaches at the highest level at all sports, their players really know how to play the game at the highest level. And it comes down to, the physical toughness and that type of stuff, but also just the mental part of the game. I think those coaches really get their players to just see, if you make a mental mistake, there's Georgia, I think, had a false start on the first 5 possessions of the game. They didn't falter. They didn't, go and pout about it on the sideline. They just kept playing. And I think that's what you see out of the best teams. You just see teams that continue to play, continue to chip away, continue to figure out ways to adjust in the game without taking themselves out of it. And, you see the same with Alabama. They didn't have too many mistakes. I think a couple pass interferences, which is part of the game and later in the game. But other than that, they were pretty solid overall. And I think those just mental mistakes to complement your physical attributes makes you one of the best teams in the country. And those two teams are by far, 1 and 2.
Yeah, and speaking here with Nate Champion, as we take a look around the sports world, Nate coming to us in this edition of Dolphin Dive with the Moyne College Dolphins, their head men's basketball coach here with us here inside the Cafe Coubal studios on Wake Up Call. So, one of the things, and you talked about it, not a lot of penalties. When you see teams like Alabama and Georgia, you're not seeing numerous false starts. You're not seeing neutral zone infractions. You're not seeing stupid penalties. And I think that, that's something, and you brought it up, and I wasn't even thinking about it. This game is clean. You know what I mean? A lot of, when we see teams like this, they're not playing games that are start, stop, because, the offensive line is making numerous mistakes or because, they don't really know where to be. Yeah, there's going to be penalties here and there, but that's one thing that I think any coach can take is, minimizing penalties, minimizing mistakes, minimizing the things that you're doing to shoot yourself in your own foot. And that's a great perspective as a coach that you picked up on something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's stuff that we talk about, on the basketball floor, just recognizing time, situation, being able to play through mistakes. Obviously, turnovers in our game are going to happen. You just have to be able to respond to it and move on to that next play without it affecting you. And can you be frustrated with yourself that you did that? Absolutely. Nobody wants to make a mistake. But it's how you respond, how you move on to that next play, and to be honest, how quickly you move on to the next play. So, obviously basketball is a much faster game than football. And if you're lingering, if you're hanging on to that mistake you made 3 possessions ago, you're probably not in the moment in that possession that you need to be locked in on. So we take that away from football, the NBA, hockey, all that stuff. Mistakes happen in athletics, and you have to be able to respond to it. And that's something I took away from that game. Just Georgia, the offensive line was trying to adjust in the beginning of that game, and you see down the stretch they weren't making any mistakes. So, just something I took away from it. It's try to pick apart stuff that I see just when I watch games now. I guess it's the coaching perspective that comes out.
Yeah, and it's I feel like as a broadcaster, as a coach, as a former player or current player, whatever, we kind of see things in a different way. And, we're trying to like locate different pieces, pull things apart. I love when I say something and then I hear the commentator say it. I'm always like, all right, cool. So we're either both crazy or we're both right. So, but it's great to do that. And granted, I mean, between the two teams, they had 17 penalties. The game wasn't perfect, but just talking about as we discuss stupid penalties like false starts and things that you correct. Here with Nate Champion here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Nate, I want to jump to the court and to what you have been doing with Moyne this season. Unfortunately, you guys have been through so much, and I know that the teams are dealing with this all around the country. It's not just you, but we look at the schedule and, just looking at it, and you can check it out at LeMoyneDolphins.com. You can also get the composite schedule on wakeupcalldt.com by clicking on our Lemoyne page. But we take a look at this season, and you got to get your first few games off here, all the way from the exhibition against Syracuse all the way to the Mocs Christmas Classic first game, and then the second game that was supposed to be played on December 19th after your win over Florida Southern on December 18th was canceled. Your game at American International on January 1st was postponed to February 10th. Then your game against Pace was postponed. Then you played Stonehill and then got postponed against Franklin Pierce. So as we look at these last few games here, it's crazy, but we're looking at a situation where 4 of your last 5 games have either been postponed or canceled. How does a team build, find its mistakes, find its place when we're looking at the fact that you didn't play from December 18th until January 8th and then had another game postponed? I mean, this has been insane to see the amount of time, almost a month between games for you, and to have 4 of your last 5 games either postponed or canceled.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's tough because you want to play, and more than just myself and the rest of the coaching staff wanting to play, the kids want to play. They didn't get to play last year. They played an abbreviated season, and we're going full steam ahead, and we hit that coronavirus road bump that a lot of teams in the country, and eventually all teams in the country, I'm sure, are going through. And it's just, for us, we talk about how well do we respond, how do we make the most of the opportunities we have each day, whether that's in practice, whether that's in a game. And I thought we didn't take advantage of the opportunity to be back on the court against Stonehill. And hopefully we do against Southern New Hampshire. But we take these days in between and take it one day at a time and know that there could be sudden change. You could have to add a game that you thought you had a day off, and we have to be able to respond to that and, grow and continue to get better as a team. And I think, these past few days we've done that, and hopefully we have another one today where we're just continuing to get better. It does, throw a wrench in things, just having to know that, who knows, maybe on Friday, Southern New Hampshire calls and we're canceled, and that's part of it and just part of where we're at right now. But I think, something we talk about to our guys is you have to be okay with change, and you have to be okay with doing, making changes quickly and preparing yourself the right way. So that's been our message to them, and just continuing to get better each day that you're on the floor, whether that's practice or in a game. And I think our guys have done a great job of just embracing that. So hopefully, nothing happens and we can play the rest of the games as scheduled. But, who knows what's going to happen with this whole thing. So we just take it one day at a time. Grateful that we're able, that we're all healthy, first off, and that we're able to even be on the floor right now. We've been through the whole 10-day quarantine, and I know that's not fun. But we're back on the floor, and, we got to get better to hopefully play our best basketball down the stretch here as we start hitting that, schedule of Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and then a couple weeks of Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and I have to be okay with that. So I'm excited for the rest of the year. Obviously, I know there's a lot of unknowns, but hopefully the season continues as scheduled.
If you could write an open letter to Corona if it was a person, what would you say to them right now?
Oh, man, can you stop, please? No, I think, for me, it's just been, first year, everything's going well. We're stopped by the virus, and that back then was just so much unknown of how bad it actually is. Is it, to the next year of, okay, a lot of teams are playing, but we're not responding from that to now you're playing a full season, you thought, and then, this happens where we're starting to get cancellations and things like that. And hopefully, as we continue on through January, that calms down and we can continue on. But, yeah, it's just been crazy. It's been crazy. I definitely didn't envision my first 3 years of college basketball, being a head coach in college basketball, going this way. But we're here and we have to make the most of it. We have to continue to just take it day by day. And, I think the biggest thing I've learned from it is just staying in the moment and being grateful for the opportunity to even be here at Moyne and being the head coach of these young guys. So I have to keep that in perspective, even though, things don't go as according to plan.
Yeah, and that speaking here with Nate Champion this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in this edition of Dolphin Dive on Wake Up Call, where sports meets life inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Nate, for you to navigate through all of this, where have you gone to? Where have you found your strength? Where have you found your patience? Where have you found your focus in dealing with all of this?
Honestly, just a lot of it's, my family, just speaking to them and them letting me know, it's, this will pass, and speaking to other colleagues in the business, and also just, staying strong in faith and, understanding that all this stuff happens for a reason, and you got to figure out ways to get through it and be better when you come out the other side. And I think that's something that I've just tried to embrace. How can I get better each day? Whether that's preparing for practices, being a better coach, being a better brother, being a better fiance, whatever that is, just trying to better myself in each aspect of life. So that's kind of been my approach with all this, and hopefully, things get back to normal sooner rather than later.
Well, you don't have to be a better food challenge partner because you beat me on that one.
I don't know, man. That cheeseburger was good, and if it's good, I don't really talk much. I just, eat what's in front of me. So, no, that was a great day, and I really appreciate you having me on the show for the challenge. And obviously, I told you then that was the first time I've had Mother's Covered Lunch, and I'm definitely going to have to start making that part of my my cycle of restaurants that I go to. So
yeah, you got to make it your rounds here. So, and Nate, before I let you go, looking at, you talked about how the schedule is going to be moving forward. You're going to be playing essentially an NCAA tournament style schedule. How close these games are. You got a game on the 15th. God willing, here this Saturday, Southern New Hampshire, and you got a game on Wednesday, and we look at you have a game on the 19th, the 22nd, the 26th, the 29th, the 2nd, the 5th, the 8th, the 10th, the 12th, the 16th, and then from there, the 22nd. There's a string of games here where there's only, 3 days in between, 2 days in between. A bunch of these have technically, when you look at it, February 10th, February 12th, there's only 1 day in between those two games here. There's 1 day in between your 8th and your 10th game. There's, a couple days in between University of New Haven on the road and Adelphi on the road. And you have to play American International due to the postponement twice in the span of 6 days. So this feels like it's almost like a kind of NCAA tournament shake 'em up type of a feel to it. It's definitely going to need your team to have a quick turnaround, a short memory and a loss, a short memory and a win to focus and not buy into the hype. How are you seeing the rest of this season in your viewfinder, knowing that these games really only have a day in between? There's not there's a practice. There's a game, you practice, you're back to a game, back on the road traveling and whatnot. So this schedule is definitely going to test you, and this team has been tested already this season by the adversity that came out of their control. So what do you think about how the season stacks up the rest of the year with a game or two, or a day or two, I should say, in between some of these games?
I think a lot of it's just the way that we train, the way that these guys are preparing, and how we prepare them for that schedule, And at the beginning of the year, we were playing some of the top teams in the country to prepare us for our conference schedule, and being able to play every other night. We talked about it. It's kind of like an NBA schedule. You play a game, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. You got to get back to the next game, because nobody really cares if you won the last one if you're losing the current one. So we got to make sure that we respond to some adversity, and we have to have a next up mentality as well. Next man up, just in case there's injuries and guys get a little more sore. We're gonna have to be cautious of minutes and things like that. But I think it's a great challenge for us, and it's a great opportunity for us as well, because if you go through that schedule and you can really hit your stride in that little stretch of that every other day period, now you're going to be really a tough team to beat when that conference tournament comes around, because you already went through that.
Yeah, and for you, do you see at 6-6 as we stand right now, at the time that we're speaking, do you see this team capable of getting in to the tournament and making a splash in the postseason? Do you see NE10 positivity coming forward, and hopefully an NCAA Division II tournament as well? What do you see from this 6-6 team?
I think there's a ton of room for us to grow. I mean, we're still not playing our best basketball. We just now are healthy, playing together, and we have to figure it out pretty quickly. We can't be in a 500 basketball team expecting to get into the NCAA tournament. You got to go on a run here, and a lot of that comes from how do you handle success. Can you get wins and move on to the next one, knowing that you have to work that much harder to win the following game, and then you have to work that much harder again to win the next one, and can you put a streak together? I think we have a ton of potential. I think we have yet to play our best basketball, and our goal has been to start playing the best basketball midway through January, which is right about now, and hitting our stride all the way through February into March, and that's what we have to do. I mean, there's no other way to do it, honestly. There's no handouts in this league, and we have to prepare ourselves each night for a battle, whether you're playing the first place team or the last place team. So
yeah, and we look at this conference of the NE10, and on the northeast side of it, every team except for one has a winning record at the time we're speaking, that team being St. Michael's. Franklin Pierce, Bentley, Stonehill, St. Anselm, Assumption, and Southern New Hampshire, all with winning records overall. And then when we look in the Southwest Division, we're seeing a little bit of a difference here. 3 teams with winning records, and then your 500, St. Rose's 500, American International, and Southern Connecticut are under 500. What can you say about the Southwest Division and kind of where this division's at in contrast to the Northeast Division, where there's 3 teams here that have winning records, and you're right behind those teams at 500? Little bit different side of the conference here when we look at the Southwest as far as win-loss right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with, just the parity in the league, also your non-conference schedule as well. But it's a lot of, you can't look at a record in NE10 and be like, okay, this team's going to, they have an easy game tonight because they play someone that's at the bottom of the league. It just doesn't work like that. It's a lot like the Big Ten, ACC, some of the top conferences in the league. Like, if you don't bring your hard hat and your lunch pail every single night, you're gonna lose, and it's just part of it. And it's great to be in the NE10 because you have opportunities every single night to get yourself back on track. And whether you're playing Bentley, who's number 25 in the country, or you're playing St. Mike's, who is a really good basketball team. Their record may not show that, but they're extremely well coached and they have talent. Again, they just haven't hit their stride yet, and we really hope that they don't hit it when it's your turn to play them. And any of these teams can beat anybody else on any night. And I think for us as a younger team and a newer team, we have to understand that. You can't look at records. You can't look at standings. You have to look at where we're at right now and how can we win this game and move after that game in the right direction. And then how do you handle the success of a win, and how do you handle the failure of a loss? I think it's the beauty of the NE10 is that, you're not out of it. You're not out of it at any time.
So the question is, at 6-6, how do you think this team has handled the wins and the losses?
I think we have a lot of room to improve. It's part of understanding how to handle the success of winning is continuing to build the right habits and continuing to build on having success of winning. And then when you lose, you can't panic. You have to understand what went wrong and watch the film and learn from it. And you have to do the same when you win. You can't go from a win and think, okay, well, I don't have to work as hard anymore. You go from a loss and now all of a sudden it's like, well, I want to work hard. Well, that doesn't translate. You have to do the same thing over and over. And I think that's part of the process that we're learning here. And we're continuing to get better. And like I said, I don't think we've played our best basketball or anywhere close to it yet. So,
and
I think there's a lot of opportunity.
And with that opportunity here to wrap things up with Nate Champion, the men's head basketball coach at Moyne for the Dolphins in this edition of Dolphin Dive. Looking at your first few seasons back here and being a head coach, why would you say Moyne is a great fit to, student athletes out there that are trying to find a home and thinking about where to go? Maybe they're transferring, maybe they're coming out of prep, maybe they're coming out of high school. Why is this men's basketball team worth taking a look at?
First off, the culture, the culture, the family atmosphere that we have here of, and a lot of people say that, but our group is an extremely tight-knit group, and we do basically everything together, and, complement that with just the overall education that you receive here at Moyne and the Jesuit education that makes you, a well-rounded person in the workplace is something that's so unique, and let alone, the success of the athletic program. We're one of the top teams in the conference in every sport, and that's the expectation here. Your expectation is to come here to win, and not only are you winning on the playing fields, you're winning in the classroom, you're winning after you graduate with the type of job that you're going to get. And to me, it's just an overall great experience and something that you're never going to forget.
That coming here from Nate Champion, not just about the basketball program, but about the community, about Moyne College as a whole, academically and athletically. And I know that there's a difference. I see it all the time. I hear it all the time, and I'm around it. So with that being said, Nate, I appreciate it. I look forward to it. And I thank you so much for navigating through a very unique time in our history, not giving up and staying focused. I'm sure there's some sleepless nights. I'm sure there's some tough moments. I'm sure there might be a couple holes in the wall of your office, but I appreciate the fact that
it's just again being resilient, staying the course, and it's a fun time to be a coach as well, though. So and I really appreciate you having me on the show, Dan.
Absolutely. So that coming from Nate Champion. We'll have you back soon. Another food challenge maybe down the pipeline here, and we'll see what we can do. But as always, Nate, thank you so much for your hard work, your effort, and your enthusiasm, and thanks for being a part of Dolphin Dive and always taking some time for me.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Dan.
All right, take care.
All right, see ya.
See ya. That coming from Nate Champion one more time. Where sports meets that thing called life here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll take a step aside for a fast break, and when we spin back around, we will have the opportunity to share with you my conversations following the victory over Pittsburgh. I'll be talking with, you'll see my video conversations, video Q&As with head coach Jim Boeheim, center Jesse Edwards, and forward Cole Swider of Syracuse as we take a look at this historic 120th matchup between these two Northeast teams. It's coming up right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicoli's.com. That's myaviccollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. We're so happy to be here with you. Cafe Kubal, located on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, as well as inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse. And you can find them at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. They're brown, giant. Let's try this again for someone who speaks for a living. Giant behemoth of a brown striped building. It's a beautiful building. Looks like coffee being poured. It's right at the intersection of all these roads converging into Manlius. It's literally like the Manlius Welcome Center. And you can find it right there on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius. You can also find them at their drive-thru location on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse at Sweetheart Corner. So make sure you fill your cup up today at Cafe. I don't need to tell you, listen, Cafe Kubal is good all year round, but when it comes to heating it up right now, you got to go get it. I know some people in this weather that get it iced. They get the iced chai, they get the iced coffee, the iced latte. I know they do it. You know, it's what you like. So you can get it iced, but we got a lot of ice here in Syracuse. So I'm going to give myself a hot chai, a hot steaming chai, a chai that I'm going to put into my Cafe Kubal travel mug, keep it hot all day because it's cold out there. So make sure you head out to Cafe Kubal today, and thank you so much for all that you do, and much appreciation to each and every single one of you. So with that being said, coming out of Dolphin Dive, we have the opportunity here to speak with the Syracuse Orange men's basketball team. I want to go over what Greg had to say here. He said, 100% agree. Monday's game, plus with the Dogs getting the victory, it made me some extra birthday winnings. Well, congratulations on that. I loved watching Monday's... Oh, no, what did he say? I'm reading two things here. 100% agree. That's why I noted it was a bold statement when you lead off with saying that Monday's game was the best ever. So, yeah, I mean, I think we can argue, and I might put it up as a poll. I think I'm going to put it up on Twitter today, is, you know, of the college football playoff history, which game is the best game? 2016, Alabama 45, Clemson 40. 2017, Clemson 35, Alabama 31. Or this year, where we saw 33-18 Georgia over Alabama. Which one's the best game that you think? So we could, you know, and we can argue a bunch of them, you know, but I want to hear what people have to say. So I might put that up today and see what people have to say about it on Twitter. So if you're not following us on Twitter, go to @CallDT, that's @CALLDT, and join me there, and we'll have some fun trying to figure out which college football playoff championship was your favorite. So we could do that today. And with that being, and we'll do that throughout the week, I'll put it up for 7 days, so make sure you get on there and vote. So with that being said, we're going to jump into my conversations with the Syracuse Orange men's basketball team. And Syracuse Orange coming off a victory. Syracuse was on a 3-game losing skid going into the game last night. They had lost 3 close games in a row, all in ACC play, losing to Virginia at home, losing on the road at Miami, and at Wake Forest in overtime. So Syracuse coming into this one having been very close but not getting it done. This time around, they make it happen. They go up against Pittsburgh. They have the lead. Here's the thing. They started with the lead 2-0 early on, and then Pitt would fight back to 3 ties, and Syracuse would stave off every single opportunity there. When the tie came, Syracuse would score after and get the lead. Then Pitt would take the lead eventually, and Syracuse would respond by ending the first half on a 10-2 run to make it 35-34 Cuse at the break. Syracuse would come out, score immediately on the opening possession of the second half, few seconds in, from Joe Girard III, and they wouldn't let up. They started the second half on a 21-7 run, scoring 3 times as many points as their adversary there of Pittsburgh, and would never trail in the second half, winning by 16, 77-61. So they really took off there. Jim Boeheim noted the defense in this game, and we're going to hear what Jim had to say about it when I spoke with him about the runs that Syracuse had, and he responded by speaking on the defense. Game of runs, you ended the first half at a 10-2 run and started the second half of 21-7. Just what you can say about the offense in this game, and is this the best that you've seen this season, in your opinion?
The offense has been good all year. Our defense was good. That was the difference in the end of the half and the start of the second half. And for the second half, we really played the most consistent. You know, the kid came in off the bench and made 2 really hard threes. We wouldn't have given up any threes in the second half. So again, it was our defense was better, and that's something we have to keep getting better going forward.
Jim talking there about it, he said, listen, it's the defense. Now, he said, you know, this offense has been good throughout. It's the defense that had to step up. And I agree with him that the defense has been lax. I agree with him. Well, that my word is lax. But I agree with him that the defense has had to get better, for sure, without question. You know, I think in this game, the offense did what it needed to do to surge back at the end of the first half and then take advantage there in the second half of keeping the momentum and not letting go of it. So I commend them on that. But yes, the defense is a part of that as well. You can score as many points as you can. As Syracuse knows, you can score a lot of points. Still doesn't mean you're going to win the game. And as we look back on Syracuse this season and look back at their schedule, you know, we look at some of these games and what they've allowed. You know, they allowed 100 points to Colgate. They, you know, allowed, well, that one's a little bit different. They allowed 100 points to Colgate, allowed 84 to Arizona State, allowed 89 to Auburn, allowed 110 to Indiana, allowed just shy of 80 to Georgetown. So, allowed 74 to Virginia, allowed 88 to Miami, allowed 77 to Wake. So, yeah, I mean, this defense obviously has to start condensing this a bit here because you don't want to have to score 80 to 90 points to win a game, and you don't want to put that on your team. Now, I will say this. This is a statistic that's in my story that I put up, is that the opportunity that we have with Buddy and Jimmy, really, because Jimmy's done an incredible job too. But in my story last night, and I'm actually going to share it here on our live line so you can check it out. But if you go back and you read my story from the Pittsburgh game that happened last night, Syracuse has an interesting statistic, and I don't think it's going to surprise you, but I just kind of wanted to let you know what the record was. And that is the fact that Syracuse this season is 6-2 when Buddy Boeheim scores at least 20 points. Syracuse this season is 6-2 when Buddy scores at least 20 points. So I definitely want you to pay attention to that and take a look at that. So we look back on some of these games and what Buddy's done. And the only 2 games where he scored 20 plus and they didn't win this season, I want to make note of those for you. He's leading the team right now with 18.9 points per game, 14.8. His brother's right behind him, Jimmy Boeheim. So the leading scorers on the team, Jimmy and Buddy, accounting for somewhere around almost 34 points for this team. Now to take a look at Buddy, in the games that he scored 20 and the team lost, they lost to VCU when he scored 20. They lost 67-55, and they also lost to Virginia when he scored 27, 74-69. So those are the only 2 games they've lost where he scored at least 20 this season. They beat everybody else. He did it. Beat Pittsburgh last night when he scored 24. Beat Cornell when he had 22. Beat Brown when he had 28. Beat Indiana. They needed all of his 27 to beat them in double overtime, 112 to 110, and I was at that game in the Dome on November 30th. Arizona State, he scored 23 in that win, and he scored 23 against Drexel. So that's what it looks like. A bunch of other games he's been close. He had 18 against Lafayette. He had 19 in a loss against Colgate. He had 17 in the loss to Auburn there, but that loss was substantial. They lost by 21 in that game. And then he had 17 in the loss to Georgetown, where they only lost by 4, and they lost by 3, where he had 17 against Wake Forest. If he had at least 20 there, maybe they're going into double overtime. So just an interesting stat that Syracuse is 6-2 when Buddy Boeheim scores at least 20 this season. And thanks, Greg. I appreciate that for the national championship thing. I'm going to put the poll up on Twitter at CallDT. That's CALLDT. Back to basketball for the Syracuse Orange. Next up here on the docket for you to hear from is Cole Swider. And this is what Cole had to say after the game.
You had a nice baseline fadeaway to end the game. Just what you can say about where your shot is, in your opinion, right now at this point in the season, offensively, where you think you're at.
Yeah, I've been shooting the ball really well over the past 4 or 5 games. And I think I've been shooting the ball at a high lot. I started out the year shooting like 10% from 3, and before tonight, I think I was at like 38. So, I mean, as a shooter, you're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to go through games where you get open shots and you're going to make them, and then you're going to get games where you don't get open shots and you're going to have to make plays like me and Buddy do on the baseline, and obviously in different parts of just trying to affect the game in different parts. I think tonight I was trying to play defense, do a lot, and just take advantage of the openings that I got, which weren't a lot. So I think just expanding my game, making plays when I can, and obviously just trying to help my team win anyway.
And that coming from Cole Swider as his offense has improved here, and he's looked to find a shot. Like, he knows he's not going to get easy shots. Teams aren't going to be giving that to him, and they shouldn't. It's Division I basketball. That should not be happening. You need to fight for your shot and find your spacing, and when you get those open shots, take them and appreciate them and enjoy them, but fully anticipate that there's going to be pressure. That way, if there's not, well, then better for you. But if there is, then you're prepared for it. Jesse Edwards, the center for Syracuse, speaks with me on the fouling situation. He's a tall guy, right? He's almost 7 foot, and he's out there for Syracuse trying to be aggressive, and some of those fouls may not have looked like fouls. I asked Jesse what it's like to be a center, to be tall, to be aggressive, and yet have to deal with the fact that being aggressive sometimes means you're going to be called for the foul.
You can say about the frustration being a big man underneath and wanting to be physical, but knowing that, some of those fouls are called that seem to maybe not be.
Yeah, it's something like last game. Sometimes you're gonna get a couple calls that you might not agree with, but you just got to take them and try to do it a little bit, maybe make it look a little bit cleaner just by having both hands up, trying to get it here instead of maybe one hand that they don't see. They might think they're doing something, but you're actually not. So I never blame the refs because they're just trying to do their job too. But yeah, it's frustrating sometimes for sure.
So the frustration obviously there for Jesse Edwards. I just want to hear what he had to say because, it's tough. It's tough. And I have argued that over the years, it seems like the NCAA wants scoring to go up and they're calling everything. It just feels like it's becoming harder and harder, especially to be a big man, especially to play around the rim and to not foul somebody. You jump up, get a clean block, and just touch the pinky, and it's a foul. And, yesterday there was a play where it looked like Syracuse just cleanly blocked the ball from behind as the guy was trying to go underneath the basket and was called for the foul. I know Syracuse fans throughout the game let the officials hear how they feel. I would love it if some people would refrain from saying really sexually explicit things and swearing. There's etiquette to going to a game, and there's also youth that's going to emulate what you're saying and doing. So I would just, I would also make that side note here to maybe, just maybe, act like an adult if you're in an adult's body. That would be great. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we'll get ready for the Fantasy Football Power Hour right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life.
Cafe Kubal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafekubal.com. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Enwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-paying non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you make your way out to the Millhouse Market every Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. for their indoor dining as well as their general store and their drive-up, drive-through window to grab your food and go. You can go to the Millhouse Market app on the Google Play or Apple App Store today. You'll have the entire menu at your fingertips, extremely user-friendly, easy to navigate through. And once you pick out what you want, there's a map section on there where you can plug in where you are and it'll take you directly to the Millhouse Market to pick up your food at the drive-through window, grab and go, contactless pay, don't have to leave your car. Super awesome, super easy. And of course, their indoor dining with their bistro menu that changes every weekend. And the general store with local products from local companies is also a fantastic way to connect with the Millhouse Market. Keeping it local and keeping those awesome flavors hitting your taste buds every single Tuesday through Sunday. There's nothing like the Millhouse Market, and we are so grateful to have them in our community on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Worth the drive every time. With that being said, we inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios are going to end this video and start a new one, and so we're going to do